Okay, a couple minutes late today, getting started. It is 11:34 on Tuesday, the what? The 19th of February. And and I am not at my normal desk today, so I don't have my fancy blue microphone. So pardon my audio if it's not great. I wanted to answer at length a question that I couldn't possibly have answered in the community this weekend in a brief post, and that was, how do I calculate NPS score using Ontraport? And it's a great question because it just uses a ton of the features of the app, and I think it's worthwhile to kind of go through and see how something as sophisticated as this can be put together in a few minutes. I actually just put it together in advance of this little, whatever this is, Facebook Live, and I did it in advance because it was going to take me a few minutes. It took me about 30 minutes, I think, to put it all together. But I just wanted to make sure I had it all thought through and didn't have to, hem and haw while I was on the call with y'all. But I think I got it all figured out. It's pretty interesting. And so let me just walk you through what I put together. First of all, what is NPS? It's an industry standard feedback score, short for Net Promoter Score. It's an industry standard feedback score that companies of all types use, and it's I'm not sure exactly where it came from, but it's been in use a long time, and it's done in a very kind of specific way. And this is basically how it works. The question, it's one question, and you ask, how likely are you to refer us to your friends or colleagues? Sometimes people say. And the scoring looks like this: not at all likely to definitely would, 1 through 10. And the way that the scoring is done is interesting. It's not an average like you might think. It's actually a much harsher score than that. The way that it's done is they consider 9s and 10s to be promoters of your business, people who really like what you're doing and would tell their friends. Just 9s and 10s. And then they consider 7s and 8s to be sort of neutral and not promoters or detractors. And then lastly, they consider everybody 6 and below to be detractors, people that are not out there saying nice things about your business. And it's important to have a sense of where you are now. Businesses are very different. There's not, the obvious question is, what's a good Net Promoter Score? And I've done quite a bit of reading about this actually, and the answer that the professionals give on this is that there is not really such a thing as a good score. There's tons of examples of companies that just do really well and score really well, and score really well on NPS, and then their businesses don't grow, or they struggle as an organization. And on the flip side, there are plenty of examples of organizations that get terrible negative NPS scores and then grow like weeds. So trying to compare one company to another is not how this is used. Also, comparing yourself to some raw score is not how this is intended to be used. It's intended to be used as a yardstick, as just as a metric that you keep track of in your business on a regular basis, and that you just start wherever you start, and that you hope to improve it over time, and you kind of tick up as you focus on this and make changes to your business. So kind of keeping track of this number over time is important, and the way that it's often recommended to gather this information is not to time it, like you don't want to ask somebody right necessarily when they purchase and then never ask again, because people are all excited. They haven't actually experienced your product yet. You also don't want to ask 2 years later after they've forgotten who you are. They're not going to respond, or you don't want to miss that initial experience. So So typically the way this is done, I think, is that you ask shortly after initial purchase, and then you ask on a regular basis, either every every 4 months or every 6 months, and you just ask every one of your customers, maybe even every year if if you feel like it's too much of an intrusion. At Ontraport, we pop a dialogue in your Ontraport account every 6 months after the first 90 days. So once you've been with us 90 days, we figured you've gotten through the kind of initial experience of figuring out what this thing is, whether it's right for you or not. And then at 90 days, we pop it up and ask you how we're doing. And then every 6 months after that, we ask you again. And we keep track of that as a daily metric. We keep our NPS score kind of right in front of the whole company on a regular basis. So we've got the 9s and 10s that are promoters, the 7s, the 8s that are neutrals, and the 6s and below are detractors. And the way you actually calculate the score is by taking the percentage of respondents who are promoters and subtracting away the percentage of respondents who are detractors. So you ignore the 7s and 8s, and you take, say you've gotten 100 responses, and 10 of them are, or say 20 of them are 9s and 10s, then 20% of your respondents are promoters. And then say that altogether, 30 of your respondents are 1 through 6. That means you got 30% of your people who are detractors. You ignore the other 50% who must have clicked 7 or 8, and you just basically take 20 and subtract 30, because you got 20% minus 30%, and you end up with a score of -10, and that's your net promoter score in that example. So that's how the calculation of the thing works. It's pretty simple. It's pretty ruthless too. You got to get a lot of 9s and 10s to counteract your 1s through 6s in this situation. So that is how this thing is put together. And now I'm going to show you how we built it out in Ontraport. We used a bunch of different features. We used pages, several different pages. We used campaigns to calculate the scores, and we used some custom fields to gather the scores, both in the contact record and in the user record. So I'm going to show you how this all goes together. This is a pretty advanced example. So if you have questions, definitely ask them in the community. Ask them here as we go if you want. And also, if this seems complicated or whatever, you can, of course, ask anything you need to of our support team. They're available to be chatted with. And excuse me. Let me pause 1 second. I just need to handle something here. I guess you can't pause a live video, so that's just how it is. But hang on 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Now, we are going to make it happen. So first thing I did is I built this page, and this is just a very simple single block Entra page that just says how likely are you to refer us to your friends. And you can look at how I composed this page. It's 3 columns. It's it's 3 rows. In the second row, I've got a full-on 12 column row, and in each of these I took in here, I made the background light gray, and I added 10 pixels of bottom margin and left and right, top and bottom margin, left and right margin to kind of make that box. And then what did I do? I came in here and I dropped a text area, a little text in here, and I said we're going to make that 1. And so I made that 1, and then I linked it. We'll see what I did here. I created a tracked link called NPS1. We'll go get into the tracked links in a second. I'll open that tab up now so we can see what that's going to look like. But I created a tracked link, and that's going to take us to another page, to a follow-up page. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. And if you look over at number 2, and you look at this thing, I've got a second track link, NPS 2. It's going to take us somewhere else, and I'll show you, actually it's going to take us to the same place. I've got one landing kind of thank you page for the 1 through 6s. I've got another one for the 7s and 8s. And I've got a third one for the 9s and 10s, and you'll see why. And then lastly, I've got this not at all likely. That's just another little text area, and another one down here I put in these in this 4-column row, and that's it. Very simple. I published that page, or did I publish it? I don't even know if I published it. No, I didn't. NPS NPS score, respond, save, and publish, and there we go. There is our beautiful page, and you can click on any of these and it's going to take you to a place. Let's see where it goes if we click on number 1, and it says, oh no, please tell us what went wrong. Okay, we got a bad score from this person, so we want to find out from them what the hell happened so that we can follow up. It's a good idea. These are people that you're going to lose, or that are out there saying bad things about you in the community, and you don't want that going on. So you want to make sure that you find out, ask them what's going on, and let them submit that information. Now, you will notice that I've got NPS equals 1 here in the URL. I put that in the track links. So look at this. These are the track links. NPS 1. The link goes to nps3.respond.ontraport.net, and then I've put this in the URL, NPS 1, and then email equals email, NPS 2, and then email equals email. That's going to add those to the URL. Of course, the email will get filled in, because I'm going to send out a request that somebody fill this thing out in an email. I didn't build that email yet, but it'll say, hey, we'd love to know what you think. This is an email that goes out. Hey, we'd love to know what you think. Please click here to give us some feedback, and it'll take them to that NPS 1 page, and of course it'll merge in that email. So it'll say, email equals Landon@ontraport.com, and those are going to be in the URL of the page. Where did that go? Right here. It's in the URL. So when that submits, what's going to happen? Well, let's just see. Let us just see. That's a detractor page. So the detractors 1 through 6 all go to this detractor page, and it says, oh no, what happened? And I click submit to see what's going on here, and I go down and I take them to a thank you page. Thanks for your feedback, which is very simple. Then I got a couple of hidden fields. Email equals email. It's going to pop that into the field, and then NPS score is 1 in this case, so it's going to make sure that thing gets populated. Now, I also have a backup plan that I've built here. I've started building, and the backup plan is to capture these track links. It's the reason I put these track links, because somebody that hates me might just click 1 and they're like, I'm not taking the time to fill out your stupid feedback form. I hate your guts, right? And if that's the case, I want to make sure that I still capture the click on that 1, right? I don't want to miss the fact that somebody out there hates me. I want to make sure that I got that information, even if they don't go on to fill out that form. So in this case, what I've got here is a campaign that just captures the track links. It's if they click that track link and the NPS score is not already 1, then I'm just going to update the score to 1, and I'm going to just keep doing that. With score 2, I'm going to move it across. I can drag this over here, copy this item and all following items, and I just go in here, change it to 3, NPS 3, and then make the score equal 3, done, and then update the score to 3, done, and there we go. I've got another version if they click item 3, and I would just keep doing that until I got all the way through number 10. So I'm not going to do that right now because we got more important things on our plate. Now, you'll see that if somebody does fill out that form, this that NPS 1 is going to be in the URL. It's going to get passed down into this hidden field right here. It's going to say 1, and it's going to get updated. So it's going to update that score again, the reason I do it twice here, the track link is going to happen, and also the it's going to get filled in on the hidden fields, is just because that happens real fast. That hidden field is going to populate instantly, whereas the track link, as you may remember, takes, I don't know, depends on the situation, 10 minutes or something to come through. It doesn't really matter with something like NPS score, but it won't come through immediately. And you may want follow-up immediately. If somebody gives you a 1, you may want to get somebody on the phone and follow up and make sure those people aren't going to leave. Okay, good. So that is what the detractors page looks like. Now, if you go back and you go to the neutral page, and again, this is going to be what the thank you page that they go to, should somebody click a 7 or an 8, and I can show you what that looks like. So if they click a 7, it's going to go to this page. All right, then, what could we do to improve your experience? How can we improve this thing, right? So, and I've got a custom field here that says how can we improve. It's actually the same field as the what did we do wrong that I had on the last page. Let's see. This one says what did we do wrong. It's the same field. I just put different pre-field text in there. You can see right here. How can we improve? It's NPS feedback. It's a custom field that I made in the contact record. I can show you how I did that real quick. You guys know how to make custom fields, I suspect, but just show you what it looks like. Custom fields here. Where did I put that sucker? Right here. So I've got NPS feedback, which is a long text field, and then NPS score, which is just going to capture what they said, the 1, 2, 3 through 10. So I've got those two fields, and I'll have that information available to myself. All right, then, what can we do to improve your experience? I did notice just because I'm going to. Well, I'll get back to it. I noticed that this opened in a new window this time. Did you guys notice that? When I click the 1, it opens in the same window. But when I click the 7, it opened in a new window. That's just a setting in that first page. But notice again that it now says the NPS equals 7. Email is going to be blank in this scenario because I gotta send people to this thing from an email from an email, so that sucker gets filled out. However, let's see. Let's go back and make sure I'll show you the setting to make sure that thing opens in the same page. So we'll go to the NPS page 1 and go to the link at 7. It's a little bit challenging to capture the text here. There we go. And so I see how it says new window there, so I just need to change that to same window. Insert that, save my page. Okay, and that'll fix that. You can refresh and see that that's now fixed in the same page. Very nice. So now we're collecting that information. And of course, 8 goes to the same place. Now let's go with 9. It looks like I screwed up. I got to fix that 9 so it opens up in the same window also. And then lastly, 9. So these are now promoters. Great. Mind sharing your favorite part of your experience so far? What have you loved? Right? Again, it's going to the same field, but I added this checkbox. You have my permission to use this as a public testimonial. Might as well capture a testimonial when somebody is loving you, right? At Ontraport, if you click a 9 or a 10, we actually encourage you. We let you know, hey, what would be awesome is if you went to G2 Crowd or somewhere else. I think there's a couple of places on there, and go leave us a nice review on a public site. That helps us out. So they can say, what have you loved? Well, just everything is awesome, and there we go. And I'm just gonna. This would say, something like Ontraport.com right there if I had sent this through an email. And then there we go, and it takes us. Got it. Thank you for helping us improve our service. And there we go. That is all there is to it in terms of capturing the data, making sure we get that into the system. Now, the good question is, what do we do with the information so that we can calculate it? and it is a bit of a calculation. If you are disinclined towards math, this may seem a little overwhelming, but fear not, I'm going to share this campaign with you, so so you won't have to think about it. You'll just have to look and see what I did, and that's all. So what I did here is I created a campaign, and this is the campaign for tracked links. It's the one that's going to capture that initial click to make sure that if I don't fill out the form, that I still get the NPS score recorded. Now here's what the scoring campaign looks like. Okay, it's just a tad complicated, but it's not that bad. So there's 3 different score updates. I'm just going to show you here. I'm going to say this is, make sure this is clear. This is detractors. Detractors. ERS. Probably detractor, huh? No, it's ORS? I don't even know. Okay. So that's that. Detractors. Not easy to put this in a good place, is it? You get the idea. Can't make this any smaller. Is that the idea? I can make it bigger but not smaller. Okay, well there it goes. Detractors, and then here we have neutrals. Neutrals, and then here, let's see. Let's make a little more sense. And here we have promoters. Promoters. Okay, so that's what we got. So let's see what happens. If somebody, well, let's just start with neutrals because that's the easiest one. Somebody clicks 7 or 8. Well, it's checking to see if the NPS score is updated. Now remember, the NPS scores can be updated now in one of 2 ways. It can either be updated because they filled out that form and the value got jammed into the hidden field and it updated that contact record, or they just click the link and in about 10 minutes later that link will get tracked and it will trigger that other campaign and the value will get updated. So if the NPS score is updated and the value is now equal to 7 or 8, this is going to get triggered. And then down we come. What's going to happen? We're going to update the contact, and instead of updating the contact, we're going to update the contact's owner. Okay. Now, many of you just have one contact owner in your account. You just use the administrator because you don't have like a sales team or whatever. And in that case, this is going to work just perfect. And what will happen? All your contacts have the same owner, and so it's going to go to the owner's record. And it's going to update, I'm going to show you what I did. I made some fields here, some custom fields. Notice that we put a search here so you can, let's see, user fields. You can search through all the administration menu items, pretty sweet. So user field editor. So this is the fields about your users, your system users, your administrator, your salespeople, people on your team. Not your contacts. So I created these 4 fields: current NPS score, promoters, detractors, and total NPS responses. So I'm going to need the number of people who are promoters, the number of people who are detractors, and the total number of responses in order to get those percentages and do this calculation, right? Because the promoters, the percent of people who are promoters is equal to the number of promoter responses divided by the total number of responses, right? And the percent that are detractors is equal to the number of detractor responses divided by the total responses. So we need all that data to calculate the current score. So I'm going to kill all these pages to clean up my situation here. Okay, so what's going to happen? I'm going to go to the owner field, to the total NPS responses, and I'm going to increase the number of responses that I've gotten to the current number. Maybe it's 47 responses, so it's going to be 47 plus 1, and now it's going to be 48. Okay, so I've updated. I've used the math functionality in numeric fields. All those fields in here are numeric fields because that's the only kind of field type you can do math on. So I'm going to take the current number and add 1, and now that'll be the new number, right? So if it was 47, now it's 48. Great. So now that's our total number of responses. And then with neutral people, it doesn't matter. We don't actually even calculate them in to our NPS score. So we are going to leave that. Actually, you know what? That's not even true, because if once there's more, the denominator is bigger, the score is going to change, isn't it? So I'm going to take this here, I'm going to drag that over here and move it, and I'm going to copy this item. Okay, now you're going to see what's happening. So we're going to recalculate the score. Okay, so let's see what, this is the actual hardcore score calculation. So this is a small field, so you can't see it all, but this is what it's doing. It's going to update the owner's current NPS score, so this field right here, it's going to take this current NPS score, and it's going to update it to the following. First, it's going to take the promoters divided by the total responses, and that's going to be a percentage. And then it's going to subtract the detractors minus the total responses. That's going to be another percentage. And then it's going to multiply it by 100 so that we don't have a tiny number, right? So we'll have like something that is you know, not a decimal. And we will have then the Net Promoter Score. So that's exactly how that's going to work. And so that score is going to be updated. And honestly, that's about it. So what I've done for this thing here, for the detractors, NPS score is updated and it's less than or equal to 6. Then what are we going to do? Well, we're going to update the total responses to you know, we're going to increase that to 1 number so that we have the total responses and the denominator is increased by 1. We're also going to increase the number of detractors by 1, right? Because we just got another detractor. So detractors plus 1, detractors equals detractors plus 1. And then we just calculate that field out again, and we've got our new NPS score. Same thing goes for promoters. We're going to update the denominator, total NPS responses. We're going to update the promoters to promoters plus 1, and then we're going to recalculate the score, and that's all there is to it. Now, what I've done here is I've added a wait 1 day, because I don't want somebody to be like messing with my score and recalculating it over and over and over again in the same day. So I figure they'll be tired of me after a day and they won't come back and mess with me. You can change that, but I do want them to be able to do it, you know, over and over again, you know, a couple times a year, right? So maybe I could even make it more than 1 day. I could make that 90 days or something. But notice that if they are on this map, who can activate this trigger? Well, any contact in the account, right? So they'll be moved here if the score is updated. But if they're already on the map, then we're just not going to do anything. We're going to ignore this trigger. So if they try to click me a bunch of times, I'm not going to buy it. At least not in 1 day. I could change that to 90 days and pause on that even more. So what else can I do here to improve the situation, improve my little campaign? Well, a couple things I can think of right off the bat. If I get you know, a detractor or a neutral or a positive, any of these things, I might want somebody to do something about it, right? So a good idea would be to assign them a task. Assign a task to your team. Hey, call this person up and make sure that they're not, you know, you can't help them out and turn that relationship around. What else might I do? I might, you know, notify myself. I want to notify somebody. Let's search for this. Notify somebody with an SMS. Maybe I want to get, you know, just for my own benefit. I want to know that I just got a new bit of feedback. Maybe I don't want to do it with SMS because I'd actually like to see the feedback they gave me. It might be long, right? Because there's that long text field. So maybe I notify somebody, myself, with an email, and the email would contain a merge field for that long text field in the contact record, the feedback field, NPS feedback. So it says, hey, you know, Landon Ray just filled out your form. He gave you a 6, and here's what he had to say. So that might be something that would be worth doing. What else? I think that's probably it. If you got yourself a task, make sure you you take care of your people. You know, maybe over here you assign a task that says, hey, let's post this testimonial to our testimonials page on our website, or whatever you may want to do with your testimonials. Okay, I hope that is all clear enough. I know it's complicated, but it demonstrates a lot of different functionality and the power of the system that you've got. So if you want this thing, I will, maybe I'll post, I'm not sure I'm going to put this in the marketplace because it's a bit complicated, but maybe I'll post it in this thread so that you can add it to your account if you want to. Let me know if you want this, and I'll post it there. All right, thanks for following, and I'll check you guys next week.